Imagine being an NFL superstar, and there are certain teams you'd refuse to join, even if they offered you more money. Why? Because some franchises don't just lose games, they destroy careers. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Victory Grid. Today, we breaking down the untold story behind one of the NFL's biggest secrets: why elite players keep avoiding certain franchises like they recursed. And trust me, this goes way deeper than win-loss records. Some NFL teams are always in the headlines. Big markets, legendary stadiums, iconic uniforms, massive fan bases. On paper, they should be attractive destinations. But year after year, when the best free agents hit the market, those teams get ignored. Sometimes they don't even get meetings. Other times, they get used as leverage, just a bargaining chip to drive up offers elsewhere. And when a top player actually does sign with them, it often ends in disappointment, frustration, and a quiet exit a couple seasons later. So what's really going on? Because if you listen to the league, they'll tell you it's simple. They'll say players just want to win. They'll say it's about the quarterback situation, or about the coach, or about the roster. But the truth is, that explanation is too clean. The real reason top-tier NFL talent avoids certain franchises is because some organizations have built a reputation that is almost impossible to shake. A reputation that says, if you go there, your prime years might disappear. And in a league where careers are short and legacies are everything, reputation matters more than money. Let's start with the biggest concept that separates great franchises from the teams everyone avoids: stability. The NFL is chaos by design. Injuries, cap issues, scheduling, travel, media pressure, fans, expectations, everything is unstable. Players already deal with enough uncertainty. So when they're choosing where to play, especially veteran stars, they look for one thing above all else: a stable foundation. That means stable ownership, stable leadership, stable coaching, stable culture. And when a franchise has the opposite, when it feels like every season is a reset button, that S where the fear begins. Because imagine you're a star wide receiver or pass rusher. You're in your prime. You have maybe 4 or 5 elite years left. You want to win now. You want your numbers to stay high. You want a system that fits your skills. You want coaches who know how to use you. And you want a front office that has a plan. But then you look at certain franchises, and what do you see? You see a coaching carousel. One year, it's a defensive coach who wants to win ugly. The next year, it's an offensive guru who wants to run a fast spread system. The next year, it's another rebuild, another new playbook, another new staff, another new quarterback, another new era. And players know exactly what that means. It means the organization doesn't know who it is. And when a team doesn't know who it is, the player becomes the experiment. That's why I'll see elite players choose teams with clear identity, even if they were not glamorous, even if they're not in New York or Los Angeles, even if the media doesn't talk about them, because identity equals trust. Look at the franchises that always attract talent. They might not always win championships, but they have structure. Players know what they're walking into. They know the locker room will be professional. They know the coaching staff will be respected. They know the owner won't panic after one bad season. Now compare that to franchises that constantly feel like they rebuilding their entire personality every 18 months. Those teams become radioactive, and what makes it worse is that coaching instability doesn't just affect wins, it affects careers. Because when coaches get fired, everything changes. Your role changes. Your scheme changes. Your usage changes. Your contract value changes. Suddenly, the player who signed you isn't even there anymore, and the new coach might not want you. The new GM might not want your contract. The new staff might think you don't fit, so you go from being the missing piece to being the expensive problem. And star players don't want to walk into that situation. Now let's talk about front office chaos, because this is where franchises truly lose their credibility. Fans focus on players. They focus on the quarterback. They focus on the coach. But the real power in the NFL is the general manager and the ownership structure. If a franchise has constant turnover at GM, it usually means one of two things: Either ownership is impatient and impulsive, or the organization has no unified vision. And both are terrifying to players. Because a good GM builds through consistency, draft philosophy, free agent strategy, cap discipline, player development, infrastructure, scouting, analytics, coaching alignment. But when teams keep firing GMs, it means every few years the blueprint gets burned down and replaced with another blueprint. That's not a rebuild. That's organizational amnesia. And that's why top players look at certain teams and say, I'm not going there. That's a black hole. Because players don't just think about the next season. They think about their career arc. They think about whether their production will drop. They think about whether they'll be used correctly. They think about whether their reputation will suffer. They think about whether they'll be blamed for the franchise's failure, and that brings us to a huge part of this story: scapegoating. Some franchises have a culture where when things go wrong, the blame always falls on the newest expensive player. A star quarterback signs. If the team loses, he's washed. A star receiver joins. If the offense struggles, he's selfish. A star pass rusher arrives. If the defense collapses, he doesn't care. And in those environments, the franchise doesn't protect its players. It sacrifices them. Elite players notice this pattern. They see how certain teams treat their stars. They see the press conferences. They see the leaks. They see the rumors. They see the anonymous quotes. They see how quickly a fan base turns. And they see how ownership reacts. And when that pattern becomes public, it becomes poison. Now, let's talk about the player development black hole. This is one of the most underrated reasons elite talent avoids certain franchises. There are teams that consistently draft well, develop well, and retain talent. And there are teams that draft high every year and still somehow stay bad. Why? Because drafting a player is only step one. Developing him is step two. And many franchises fail miserably at step two. They bring in first-round picks and ruin them. They switch their position, they change their system, they don't protect them, they don't build around them, they throw them into chaos and then act shocked when they don't become stars. Ever wonder why some NFL teams are stuck in a cycle of losing while others seem to be perennial contenders? It's not just about money or draft picks. Today we're diving deep into the real reasons top-tier players will actively avoid signing with certain franchises even when the money is good, and stick around, because we'll also break down how these struggling teams can actually turn things around and become a place where stars want to play. Let's start with one of the biggest red flags for any player: poor player development. Imagine you're a highly touted rookie, full of potential. You land on a team, and instead of getting top-notch coaching to refine your skills, you're thrown into a chaotic system with a revolving door of position coaches. Your technique stagnates, bad habits form, and your career trajectory flatlines. This is a nightmare scenario for players. Teams known for failing to develop their talent, especially at key positions like quarterback, become poison to a player's agent. Why would they send their star client to a place where their value is likely to decrease? Look at teams that consistently turn mid-round picks into solid starters. That is a sign of a healthy development program. The opposite is a huge deterrent. Next up, let's talk about facilities. You might think this is a minor detail, but it speaks volumes about an organization's commitment to winning. When a player tours a facility, they're not just looking for a fancy locker, they're looking at the quality of the weight room, the technology in the training rooms, the nutrition programs, and the recovery amenities. Outdated equipment, cramped spaces, and subpar medical staff send a clear message. The ownership isn't investing in the player's health, performance, and long-term well-being. Players talk. They compare notes. If one team has state-of-the-art hydrotherapy pools and another has rusty old weight racks, guess where the free agent is going to feel more valued and supported? It is a direct reflection of whether the team views its players as assets to be nurtured or just disposable parts. Now for the big one, toxic culture. This is probably the most damaging factor of all. A toxic culture can manifest in many ways. It could be a head coach who rules by fear, creating a tense and joyless environment. It could be front office infighting that spills into the locker room, causing division and uncertainty. Or it could be a culture of losing, where mediocrity is accepted and there's no real accountability. Players want to come to work excited and motivated. They want to be part of a brotherhood where everyone is pulling in the same direction with one goal: winning. When a franchise is known for drama, backstabbing, or just a general lack of professionalism, top players will run the other way. They have a limited window to compete for a championship, and they don't want to waste a single season in a dysfunctional environment that drains their passion for the game. Another major factor, especially in certain cities, is media pressure. Playing in a massive media market like New York or Philadelphia comes with an intense level of scrutiny. Every single mistake is magnified, analyzed, and criticized on sports radio, television, and social media. 24/7. For some players, that pressure is a motivator. They thrive on it. But for many others, it's an exhausting burden that affects their mental health and on-field performance. If a player knows they're more introverted or sensitive to criticism, they might consciously choose to sign with a team in a smaller, less intense media market. They'd rather focus on football than deal with the daily barrage of negativity, and when a team is already struggling, that media pressure cooker can become unbearable, making it an even less attractive destination. And finally, we have to talk about bad management. This is the root cause of many of the other problems we've discussed. A general manager who consistently whiffs on draft picks and overpays for declining veterans, or an owner who meddles in football decisions they don't understand. These are franchise killers. Players and their agents do their homework. They look at a team's track record. Do they have a clear vision? Do they make smart, strategic moves in the draft and free agency? Is the front office stable, or is it a constant soap opera? A reputation for incompetence at the top is the ultimate deal breaker. No amount of money can compensate for the chaos and frustration of playing for a poorly run organization. You're just signing up for years of guaranteed failure. So with all these problems, is there any hope for these teams at the bottom? Absolutely. Redemption is possible, but it requires a massive top-to-bottom commitment. It starts with ownership. The owner has to be willing to hire the right people, a smart GM, and a respected head coach, and then get out of the way and let them do their jobs. This new leadership must establish a new culture immediately, one built on professionalism, accountability, and a clear vision for winning. Next, they have to invest. That means upgrading facilities to show players they are a top priority. It means pouring resources into scouting, analytics, and player development. They need to create an environment where players know they will get better and be taken care of. Then comes the hard part: changing the narrative. This often starts with the draft. Hitting on a few key draft picks, especially a franchise quarterback, can inject immediate hope and talent into the roster. They need to show they can build a team the right way. Then, in free agency, they might have to overpay slightly for the first few big-name players to convince them to take a chance. But if those players come in and have a positive experience, word gets around the league. Slowly but surely, a team can transform its reputation. When current and former players start speaking positively about the new coaching staff, the improved facilities, and the winning mindset, other players take notice. Winning cures a lot of ills. A 4-win team that improves to 8 wins is a story of progress. An 8-win team that makes the playoffs becomes a legitimately attractive destination. It's a slow, difficult process, but by addressing the core issues of culture, management, and investment, even the most avoided franchises can redeem themselves and become a place where NFL stars want to build their legacy. Thanks for watching, everyone. What do you think is the biggest reason players avoid certain teams? Let me know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the world of football. See you in the next one.